Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, to the Beyond the Summit Southeast Asian Series. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by Danny Lee Cass as well as Corrupt Drop Air on the stats. We're going to be taking a look at Team Redemption up against MVP.Hot6, looking for their possibility to move on into the next series of this tournament. Danny, how are you doing? And were you a little bit surprised by what we saw last time?
Actually, I'm hoping the mic is okay this time. It's gonna be super loud. Is that alright?
Yeah, it's fine. I believe in you. You're great. Just yell. Yell all you want. We're good.
I'm not gonna yell. But I was very surprised at Team Redemption's performance. We haven't seen them in so long, and you know when you haven't seen a team for so long, you don't know what to expect from them. And from the last game, absolutely spot on play. A little bit shaky during the early game. We have to admit there were a couple of times, and it looked like it was going to be going in the way of MVP. But after a while, you just saw them chugging along, and Hot6, they really couldn't do anything, and I think to a certain degree it had to be that last pick Meepo that really caught them off guard. They never really had the best tools in dealing with the Meepo, just because they had a lot of AoE damage. They could be very aggressive, but if the game goes to a very, very late portion of the game, they start running out of damage. Anti-Mage or Shadow Fiend, doesn't matter. Those two heroes in themselves were not enough to deal with a Meepo and a farmed PL.
Absolutely, and that's something that you're always going to need to be careful of. I mean, I think there that what you saw at Team Redemption was that they recognized a weakness in their draft, in MVP.Hot6's draft. They said, you know what, they don't have any way to be able to deal with our, AoE heroes here, these heroes that require some AoE disable, and then they just took advantage and rolled with it from there. And, the PL kind of felt like the sort of nail on the coffin in conjunction with that Meepo. He ended up going for the early Diffusal Blade, something that we both thought might be a little bit scary, and it was going to depend on his positioning and his ability to outplay his opponents, and he did it perfectly. We saw there in that beautiful mid fight that I'm still just giggling about to myself over here to the side. Like he was doing great things, being able to micro the individual PL illusions to make one of the enemy team think that was the real one, and then sort of throw everybody off. Mind games abound. It's worth noting that Team Arrow, before they ended up having their struggle, they ended up disbanding, getting kicked from their team for a reason that is sort of unheard of, in that they were not bad. It's that they ended up making a mistake. And when you end up coming back with that raw level of talent, sort of, re-inspired to go for something strong, I'm curious to see where they go from here, as we do end up seeing the Tusk first pick as well as the Queen of Pain Dazzle.
So some brand new heroes this time, it seems, and obviously seeing new heroes means we're going to have quite a bit of a fun time. Now, with what we currently have now, we've got a Tusk and an Ember Spirit on Team Redemption. So they've got a very solid initiator in the Tusk, and they also now have some decent team fight, as well as high ground defense, high ground push, and an Ember Spirit as well. So for Redemption, they're keeping their options open right now, not going for a very, very solid, very particular draft yet, as they want to keep things open depending on how Hot6 wants to play. Whereas for them, they have a Dazzle and Queen of Pain, very solid mid hero to keep Hot6's momentum, and you have a Dazzle that's going to be a very, very solid support. No definitive strats though, so I think at this point it's safe to say that teams are just going for the safe picks now. They will go for the riskier and more defined picks in this second phase of picks.
Absolutely. Well, we also have now, I think that the Huskar ban is something that we're always going to be seeing pretty much forever until we end up seeing some type of significant change to this hero. And he's always sort of a dynamic hero in terms of what he's able to bring to the table. For Team Redemption, do you think that they sort of... Do they need to be able to go another type of draft that's a little bit out of the box, or do you felt like they had enough sort of execution that they can go for a bit more of a standard play this time around?
Honestly, I would say for Redemption is just do what feels comfortable to them, because we saw last game they played a draft and they looked very comfortable playing it. And if you can play something that you know that you're going to play well and that you know what you're going to be doing with it, then just go for the exact same thing. Don't fix what's not broken. They did well last game. If they just do a similar strat to last game, I think I'd by all means be okay with that.
Yeah.
They don't have to play out of the box.
Okay. Well, very interesting. We'll see what they end up going for here, as we do have the next pick for MVP.Hot6. They're going to go for a Viper, that sort of tanky, ridiculous, just disgusting hero to play against. Kind of the most frustrating ones, in my opinion, at least, in terms of what you end up seeing. He just kind of always create situations where you don't want to end up, fighting against him. You sometimes end up doing more damage to yourself than you end up doing to him, and he's so hard to gank. Do you think that this is probably going to be that mid-Ember Spirit here, or are we going to see, now that the Viper's picked up, trying to transition him into that safe lane?
honestly, they could do it either way if they really feel like they have to put the Ember Spirit in the mid lane. Then he should do decently well versus a Viper. Not amazing because he is melee and a lot of the damage from Viper is going to be physical. But it depends on who they want to prioritize. Is it going to be the Ember Spirit that needs the most farm and needs a safe lane, or is it going to be this other hero that needs it? I think depending on what this fourth pickup is, they'll give us more of an idea as to how Team Redemption wants to play with the Ember Spirit, because you can put him in both lanes. There's no way of saying the Ember Spirit has to go in this lane. He's very very open for one of those core heroes. Hot6 going to pick up a Earthshaker here. So it looks like they've secured both of their supports. Very, very solid at support. And also, if he gets a Blink Dagger, we're going to be seeing some slam dunks this game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's kind of what you want to end up seeing out of them. Unfortunately, we still having a couple of issues with the audio. I'm really sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not exactly sure what all is going on, but I'm going to bring myself down a little bit, and hopefully that ends up being a little bit more close to equitable in terms of everything looking good. But yeah, Ancient Apparition now taken as another one. I think that this is kind of a hero that he's become a lot more in response to the early death ball, get up in your face and just sort of destroy, the enemy in terms of his ability to regen up from anything. And like with the emergence of the defensive supports in the Winter Wyvern and the Dazzle, he really has sort of found his place. Also, of course, being an answer to the Doom and the Alchemist that are sort of constantly there. But as a hero, he does somewhat lack a decent amount of disables. And that's something that I'm seeing out of Team Redemption here is they don't have, like, I guess... Well, now I'm saying that the Ember Spirit with the Sleight Fist into Chains is pretty good, and then also Tusk is pretty solid. I'm just worried about his laning stage and how well he's going to be able to do there.
I think so as well. We'll take a look at these last two picks, and then we can really have an idea as to how the lanes are going to pan out and who's going to be going up against who. Interesting Invoker ban here for Hot6. We don't normally see this hero. He is a very niche pickup, and he does do very well in what he does. Not too sure if an Invoker would have really shook MVP's Hot6. I guess the Quas Wex Invoker would have been annoying as they've got a lot of mana dependent heroes. So I guess that's probably one of the main reasons why you get rid of that Invoker. And also Sunstrikes, because there is an AA.
I think that the other thing is DDZ, back when they ended up going, was like, he played Invoker a lot, and he was able to really sort of make that hero his own. And with the emergence, obviously, of this hero more recently, we've seen Sumail play it, a bunch of other, really top-tier pros. It's something that you really need to be cognizant of. And I think that it really can destroy Queen of Pain, depending upon how the laning stage goes. If you're able to nuke away all of that mana, I mean, think about the way that, I think it's 600, roughly, that you end up getting at max levels if you have Agnum Scepter that you destroy with EMP. It's really devastating. So I like this ban, and also the other problem that you can end up running with it is that if you get several early points in Exort, all of a sudden your Ember Spirit basically gets like a free, 50 to 60 damage depending on how many levels you go into it with that Alacrity. So either way, it can be pretty dangerous. I like this pick right here, or the ban rather, I should say.
Yeah. Well, that's a very peculiar pick. I never knew they moved picks over there. But anyways. Oh, goodness. So the Juggernaut final ban here for Redemption. So getting rid of the Jug means that there's no free regen going in the way of Hot6, and that they're not able to just go for that sort of early game aggressive push and team fight sort of draft that they could have decided to go for if they did go for the Jug. Now we got 30 seconds left on the clock, roughly for both teams for these final picks. So Redemption, they've got both supports, an off lane, and technically a mid or a safe lane, whereas for Hot6, they've got both supports, the Viper and the Queen of Pain. Does this actually shift the Queen of Pain into the safe lane or the off lane role, actually? I think that's the major thing here that we need to take a look at. Or Spirit Breaker.
Huh. I was going to say that I was expecting it to be the Queen of Pain in the safe lane, which I still think it is, and then maybe just running a dual off lane with Earthshaker Spirit Breaker. Or are we going to see the Earthshaker just roam around a lot and be somewhat nomadic? I don't like that role for Earthshaker as much, but it seems like it's going to be okay. Well, time will tell. We'll end up seeing where they go. I just feel like Earthshaker, there's a reason that he's been getting picked less often in that role over the past couple of months. And I think that yesterday we did end up seeing a bit of a roaming Earthshaker in the SEA games, but I just don't love it. I feel like that hero desperately needs to be able to get those items, and sometimes if you don't find the kills, it really doesn't work out for you, and then all of a sudden your hero is useless at 25 minutes into the game.
Oh, I think there's another dilemma that you have to be thinking of if you're Hot Six, though. They're putting a lot of emphasis onto Queen of Pain to do a lot of the burst
10
damage. So
seconds
when they go for
remaining.
ganks, they need the Queen of Pain's burst. If there's no Queen, who the hell is going to
5
do it?
seconds
Viper's not really the
remaining.
best roaming hero. He can go for a Viper Strike and a couple of right clicks damage is okay. Puck, final pick for Redemption. I love seeing this hero. So it's going to be Puck mid, I presume. Ember Spirit safe lane, Tusk off lane for Redemption. But damage for Hot 6 is quite thin. It's spread very thin. And if the one hero that does it is dead, they really don't have the best draft in compensating for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, we've talked about these drafts a couple of times, is that teams are kind of, well, I don't want to make a wide generalization, so I'm not going to. The SEA game that we saw yesterday, there was a team that ended up running low on damage, and this time around we're also seeing the same thing, where at least at this point in time, MVP.Hot6 don't have the amount of damage that I think that they're going to need to really burst down the Ember Spirit if he goes for a slightly more tanky build. That being said, a lot of Team Redemption is somewhat
10
sort of
seconds remaining.
shaky in their survivability anyways, so it's tough to tell. I think the Viper is going to be a key component in this map. How well he's going to be able to position himself at the start of the fights, because in the middle of the fights, he kind of is just in the same spot regardless. But if he ends up getting himself into a pretty good position early, then I think that he can really sort of be the difference maker. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's really going to be seeing. We have to take a look at how the lanes pan out, because lanes is going to be huge, not just for MVP, but I think also for Team Redemption. It's going to determine who comes online when and who's going to be making the plays for what team. But for Hot 6, I think the main issue here is that if the Queen of Pain doesn't come online early, they're going to have to fall back onto the Viper, which, let's be honest, a Viper in general as a hero that's supposed to be the momentum hero doesn't really do the best job of it. And that's where the rest of the team has to really come together and hopefully complement the fact that if someone's behind, they have to work together to bring it back. Whereas for Team Redemption, they've got a draft where if someone falls behind, they've got another hero that fills in the exact same role. It is absolutely fine. They've got a much more balanced draft, I guess that is the best way to explain it for Redemption.
Queen of Pain just ran into the tier 1 tower and took some damage. I don't know what that was about, but had to eat up a tango afterwards, and now is getting back up to full. That was a very strange little moment there, and it looks like she is going to be able to get this bottom rune, probably trading it off against the Tusk possibly. We'll see how that ends up going. They do end up getting the ethereal jaunt away on the Puck. That's going to force out the salvage use, and now it does look like Tusk is going to be able to get that bounty rune. Should be able to find that one every time with the stun coming out from Snowball. So nice little change there, as we do end up seeing the Tusk get the bottom rune and the Viper get the top rune. So what is already, I feel like, a bit of a tough matchup in the Viper versus Puck, you're also going to be down a bounty rune. What do you think about this matchup here between these two?
Viper versus Puck. Well, the thing with Puck is that he is mostly going to be a utility-based mid. He's there mostly for the silence, the initiation with the Dream Coil. So he's not, I guess the best way to say it is that he's in a similar position to a Magnus, where Puck needs a blink. And once you've got that blink on the Puck, he's mostly golden because that's his major item. That's the item that means that Puck's ready to fight, he's there for the team, and that they just get the ball rolling. It's not like a farming mid like an Ember Spirit that needs the farm or as much farm as possible plus levels. So I think for this mid lane scenario, it's going to be hard for the Puck, but he can mitigate a lot of the damage just because he has the phase shift, and he just needs to hit that level 6 and also get that blink. Once he has that, DDZ is golden.
I'll also mention he's well on his way to it, 8-2 to start this off as Viper gets his first last hit. That was a just first couple of waves there, just complete and total dominance. And to me, that just looks like we can talk all that we want about heroes and their ability to, do a lot of damage. And Viper's a great hero for being able to obviously dominate a lane to a large extent. As we do end up seeing the Queen of Pain getting dove behind tower, she is going to end up getting hit by the snowball there. Do we have a shards? That's going to be committed. And with no blink at this point in time, Queen of Pain does end up going down. It just came off of cooldown. Tusk off to a really good start here, and maybe a little bit of action up in the top lane as well.
I was a little bit slow on the blink there on the Queen of Pain. I think he would have been able to cast it sooner. Not too sure if it was a latency issue, but they're going to try and go for a jump onto the Tusk this time. They want some revenge. Damage is there as well with the heal bomb. Not quite enough though. Snowball going to be connecting onto the creepers. He wants to try and go for a quick juke. Going to try and outrun them, but it's a blink Queen of Pain. You're not going to be outrunning that hero anytime soon. He will try and out-regen. Going Gonna be going through the creeps, trying to go for the denied, and all of a sudden, yeah, that's a Tusk sandwich right there.
Nice little blink over to make sure they end up securing that one with the dazzle. Always good to see that. And the courier snipe close, nice little phase shift. Not going to be able to take the damage there, but still is going to be eating a little bit of corrosive skin. Also a charge. 4 heroes now in the mid lane. This is DDZ. If they don't get this kill, this is a disaster. Phase shift away, Ethereal Jean, and DDZ gets out, able to dodge away from the charge. And now we also have Sang-Zai who's in the area. He's going to start right-clicking down. The DD does pop there on the Spirit Breaker, still on up. If they end up finding one right-click, this is going to be a huge turnaround. But Puck able to get away from that one, even sustaining in lane with the bottle up. Huge turnaround and a big commitment there as they're going to start to cut the creep wave, seeing that nobody else is up in this top lane.
So that's the advantage of running a Puck in the mid lane. He is such an elusive hero. He's on a completely different caliber. Spirit Breaker dies to Roshi. I guess he wants to free trip the fountain. The Puck is on a completely different caliber when you talk about mobility. He's so elusive, so difficult to really catch unless you have that, for example, maybe a Rubik lift, an instant disable. So for DZ on the Puck, a situation like that, it has you know if you are going to be running into so many heroes, you can just play elusive like that and they will never catch you. Because the disable on MVP is, it's quite weak. It's mostly the Earthshaker there that's going to be the main disable for the Puck. And then if aggressive, or actually I don't know what the Earthshaker's name is, but if Earthshaker can't be there to be the one to lock down the Puck, who is?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah, it's really a rough situation for him. And, you know, I was worried about the sustainability, but this is the other thing I'll say. When you pick a hero like Viper, you leave yourself open to the possibility of getting outplayed. And not necessarily that you are going to get outplayed every single time, but at least you have the possibility to outplay this hero because you've got Phase Shift, you've got Jaunt, you've got the Illusory Orb, and now Doctor dropping a little bit low here, needs to be careful. And if there aren't too many ways for you as a Viper to be able to outplay your opponent, so the skill cap being that much higher means that you're able to do that much more in lane. And I think that right now Team Redemption are feeling very confident after that last game and think that they're going to be able to take out the rest of the series here. So pretty cool start to this game as Corrupt Drop Dare gets us those stats as well. It's a pretty solid one there for the Puck.
I'm really sad that the hero's really fallen off in terms of popularity. The hero is just very, very fun to watch. You can do so much with it. We've had incredible TIs as well with the Puck, but we don't see him anymore. Do you feel like it was just because of the main meta shift where teams are typically picking up those later carrying heroes such as Wind Ranger and Shadow Fiend?
I think that was one of it. I think also we've moved into needing that damage. You know, you talk about that there with the Shadow Fiend and the Wind Ranger, and also, you think back to a little bit before the last patch, high magic burst damage heroes. This is something else that Puck can have some problems with. If you're not able to just phase shift absolutely perfectly, you can definitely get bursted down by some of those other heroes. And, I mean, take a look at the HP right now at this point, 660. And I think it's even more of a difficult position because we've been seeing more often than not dual lanes mid. And while Puck can dodge away from a lot of different problems and early rotations, he doesn't do so well against sustained harassment, I think, which is what we sort of see more often with the Banes picked up occasionally, and occasionally the Winter Wyverns also that end up roaming on into the mid lane, which is, I think, part of the reason why they ended up sort of taking that Winter Wyvern for themselves on Team Redemption, is that way they didn't have to deal with those problems.
So we take a look at the CS situation for both teams now. So it looks like we've got the Ember Spirit right on top of the CS charts here for Team Redemption. So they're putting a lot of emphasis onto making sure that Lance gets that early farm. Because of this emphasis, does this mean they want to fight early with the Ember Spirit? Because they're committing both supports into this top lane. They might get the kill here under the Spirit Breaker frozen in place. You're going to have a Spirit Breaker popsicle. Well,
Yeah.
for Lance though, because of this emphasis, do they want him to farm early to fight early? Is that the reason why they would bring both supports here?
I think that probably part of the reason was because they didn't need him in the mid lane. Off lane also relatively safe on their own as the Tusk, and as we actually are going to see the Dazzle get hit on up there by the Dream Coil, behind a TP away, they're not going to be able to find that kill, and that's too bad, that one. But I think the bigger thing is that they wanted to get levels up on the Ancient Apparition and the Winter Wyvern, and if they just left the Ember Spirit alone against this lineup, as we get the charge on here on top of Lance, this is going to be committed there. Fissure coming out, also Sonic Wave, and that's going to be a quick kill. I think that as they end up getting this other kill on the Ancient Apparition also, kind of a disaster here. They needed one person to be able to pull and the other person to be able to harass in lane. And so this allowed them to be able to sort of pull with impunity and constantly get those levels up. And you take a look at the hero levels right now, you know, Ancient Apparition and Winter Wyvern, while low, I feel like they're in an okay position. And without those kills, they probably would have been a little bit higher.
Oh dear, they're going to try and jump with the lance yet again. This might actually come to be a successful gank. They're going to continue on chasing with the Earthshake at 8 seconds on the Fissure. They're going to slow him down here with the Winter Wyvern. Dropping very low, actually. Wyvern should not get the kill, but he will be chased down by both of these heroes. And now Spirit Breaker very tanky, but now they turn back onto Lance. The heal was there onto the Wyvern. Keep Terror alive. They get the kill on Lance. They will lose the Spirit Breaker. Queen of Pain with the blink just gets out of there quite nicely. No more catch on the side of Redemption. And that should be it.
No, unfortunate there. We do end up having another blink in 7 seconds, so if he's a little bit slow, there's always the chance that you could catch with the snowball if they just get any little bit of vision, but no, there's the blink away. I think also it's worth noting, as we did end up seeing those shards connect there in the end, the Ember Spirit ended up skilling up a Sleight of Fist in the middle of that fight to be able to dodge away from the damage, and was able to get away from it, but there was just too much to turn around away from it. So I think that you talked there right before we ended up having this big engagement, and it looks like it's a pretty big lead for MVP.Hot6 after that one. I don't know if they necessarily have to fight a lot on Ember Spirit. I think that their lineup scales really well into the late game with this hero, and probably they would be relatively happy just taking it late, I think. Also because when you end up feeling like you're the better team, and I don't want to say that based off of that last game they felt really strong, I think, in terms of the way that they played. You do want to run it to the late stages so that way you're able to, you know, keep it going. As Heen does end up getting initiated here, snowball forward, he does end up getting the shallow grave, 2 heroes in the middle of all of them. Walrus Punch committed now also. Everybody from the Radiant getting very low. Do they have enough to be able to finish him off here? There's going to be the phase shift. No, not quite in time. So now going to be able to get the Splinter Blast. Aggressive, dropping pretty low. That's actually Febby, and he does end up falling. Still a lot of damage, but that's going to be a Sonic Wave on top of everybody. That's going to be a double kill for the Queen of Pain. Winter Wyvern ends up getting the finish off. 4 heroes dead down here in the bottom lane for the Radiant, and a trade for 2.
Not the best trade of your MVP, but for Team Redemption, going to be very happy with how that turned out. And that was just off the fact of MVP, they came in 1 by 1. I think that was the major issue with them. They came in 1 by 1. They wanted to try and reinforce Heen, who is a dazzle. You think you can get in there because he's got the Shallow Grave to keep him alive. But then you underestimate the damage output from Team Redemption because they've got so many levels on these heroes. You have a level 8 Puck who's got a maxed out Illusory Orb as well as the Waning Rift. You've got a Tusk that's sitting on level 7, not too high, but he is doing quite a bit of damage himself. So the damage output for a Team Redemption is quite high, and the MVP, they're still looking relatively squishy right now. So if they're not careful with their positioning, if they clump up and they get caught in any sort of AoE, you're not going to be looking too good if you're MVP, because if the Dazzle's gone, there's no extra sustain. There's no heal from a Wyvern. There's nothing like an Undying.
Well, hopefully soon they're going to be able to get that with the mechanism almost finished on Doctor, but it is a little bit tough. I think that before that item, this is sort of a timing window where MVP.Hot6 need to be really careful. They are going to be trying to clear on out this camp here as well by the Queen of Pain, and a lot of stacks all around the map. I mean, we saw a couple here for the Dire as well a little bit earlier as Ember Spirit clears on out the hard camp. And I think that the economy game is going to be really important to keep an eye on, as we do have an initiation up top here. Spirit Breaker committing that level 6 on top of the Ancient Apparition. That's going to be a kill. Snowball forward. Winter Wyvern is here, starting to do a good amount of damage. We're going to see a body block in a second or two, I think, as never mind. The Ember Spirit is just all on top of it. Winter Wyvern ends up getting the last hit, but a trade at the end for an Ancient Apparition for your offlaner. I think that that's still, again, pretty worth it for Team Redemption.
I'm not too sure, because you also, when you go for these kills, you have to take into consideration, you kill this hero, what do you get out of it? You're an offlane Spirit Breaker, you're going to be killing a support Ancient Aberration. Your team isn't going to get anything out of it because they can't necessarily push too much outside of this, because they're not going to get any towers. If they could get objectives aside from just a hero kill and losing their offlane, then maybe it would have been worth it. But I don't know. I'm not too sure if that was honestly the best thing that the Spirit Breaker could have hoped for. Maybe he was hoping to get a quick kill and maybe, I don't know, kill and run.
Yeah.
Get away with murder.
Definitely. Yeah, I was actually meaning that I felt like it was more worth it for the Ancient Apparition, the side of Team Redemption, to be able to get that kill. But yeah, I think that that's a little bit scary. What do you think about the 2 null tally build on Puck instead of going for that early Blink Dagger?
He needs the stats.
Yeah.
because the Queen of Pain's doing quite a bit of burst damage, and if DZ does not have the 2 null talismans, then he's sitting on roughly 600 HP. So
Yeah.
the Queen just has to throw one combo, and then that's it. Your Puck's gone. So I think it's okay. You get extra stats, you get extra mana pool. He's going to be able to stay on the map a little bit longer. And I guess also a nice thing to note is that even though he's bought the 2 null talismans, he's still well on his way to his Blink Dagger. It's not hindering the Blink Dagger timing either. So it's a good use of gold.
Oh, that snowball forward. This could be a little bit rough, though. Ancient Apparition Blast does end up going down, but he is super dead. Might be able to turn this one back around with the Winter Wyvern ulti. Heen dropping low is going to Shallow Grave off, though. All of this work could be going down in a second. Lance is still alive in the middle of all of them. Puck has shown up, letting everybody know that here he is indeed. Now they're going to be able to turn this one back around. I think that Spirit Breaker does end up falling. Unfortunately, the Queen of Pain was already out of there, and it does end up making her way up to the top lane now, trying to put a little bit of counter pressure after the pressure down bottom. Didn't end up working out too well for them.
So it looks like, unfortunately for Ancient Apparition, he's going to be spending most of his time this game in the fountain. He's not had the best game, let's be honest. He's died 3 times 13 minutes in. It's not the best game for AA, but he's hanging in there. His team's getting a lot of kills out of it. They're getting a lot of gold, and that's good news for Team Redemption. So he'll be patting himself on the back thinking, oh, I'll get to watch this game today.
He's the sort of the motivational speaker. He's the one that lets everybody know it's going to be okay, guys. Just look at me, and I'm still having a good time. 8-10 is the current score. Once again, if MVP.Hot6 do lose this game, they're going to be out of this tournament at this point in time, which would definitely be a bit of a surprise. How do you rate MVP.Hot6 in terms of the SEA teams? I feel like you have a pretty good handle on it, considering you actually are in that region right now and cast a fair amount of games for them, or is it something where it's all a little bit tightly contested?
MVP, they have days where they can perform as a top-tier Southeast Asian team, and then they have days where they're just sort of, they look like they just tilt. And I think for today it's more or less just an average day. They're not playing amazing. I haven't really seen any spectacular plays for them today, but they do have potential to go for those really flashy plays. It's just we haven't really seen it, and I think it's also because of their draft. It's sort of handicapping their potential as a team, because it's an interesting draft, but they don't really have the best tools when it comes to going for those incredible plays. They might get caught out. Those poor Doctor, our Viper, he's got a mech, but if he hits something Ice Blast and a Dream Coil, he's not going to get out of there. Frozen in place, yeah. The Viper is literally frozen for the whole game. So he goes down. Echo Slam connects. Oh, just on a couple of heroes, but Lance caught out, unfortunately. Will go down as well. 3 heroes dead here for Team Redemption, and the rest of them have to get out of here. It's going to be the Tusk. Chasing here is our Queen of Pain. Going to go for the charge. Going to push him on the other side of the fissure, but that doesn't really matter as they do catch him out in the meantime. And the only one surviving is DDZ, our elusive Puck, who is hanging around. I think he should just back up. Does not want to be in there, as there's no one to support him. Oh, gets found out though. Double damage Puck though. Whoa.
Silence comes out. He's actually going to kill off the Queen of Pain right there, and then the Mysterial jaunt away. That is a pretty bold move right there, but realizing the full limits of this hero, that's what you were talking about, I feel like, in terms of how cool this hero can be and really outplaying your opponents, as we do end up seeing another huge turnaround. And I think that Team Redemption, while they did end up losing that fight pretty badly, they're still not in an awful position. MVP Phoenix very clearly ahead, about 3,000 to 4,000 gold and a decent amount of experience, but I still like their draft scalability in the later stages. I think that Spirit Breaker always puts you in a position where you're going to be able to come out ahead onto fights just because of the effect that Charge has in terms of really forcing in the engagement that you want, as long as you're charging in the right place, of course. Also, Queen of Pain, just the huge amount of burst damage you saw there at the very start. Ancient Apparition, while he did end up getting out the Ice Blast, he also bursted right at the very beginning of it. And I think that maybe for Team Redemption, you try and spread out a little bit more. You deny away the possibility of getting those 2 to 3 man Sonic Waves, and from there, you're probably pretty fine. But of course, if MVP.Hot6 continue to sort of perform at the level they've been performing at, I think that they're in a pretty good spot also to take this one.
MVP there, they've got a timing window. That's the major handicap with their draft. If they don't hit that timing window, they're just going to completely fall off compared to Team Redemption. So I would say Team Redemption have the 2 options. They hold out and wait out this timing window by MVP, or they just stay toe-to-toe, try and keep their items equal, keep the objectives equal, and then they should literally just be fine. Because you compare the drafts, MVP has to be ahead if they actually want to be able to take this game off of Team Redemption right now. And looking at what they currently have, they are slightly ahead, but they do have the chance of just having one little mistake, and that could be the end of their entire lead.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very precarious
Radiant's bottom
situation,
tower is
and
under attack.
I think you take a look here. Febby getting very close to being able to pick up his blink dagger. He's actually probably just going to
Radiant
sit here and wait
structures
for
are
it.
fortified.
Meanwhile, the rest of Team Redemption are sitting around. Ancient Apparition in the perfect spot to be able to lay out an ice blast, and I think that they maybe want to fight this. They're at least thinking about it. The Sigil is scouting out everything, making sure that it's all hunky dory. Queen of Pain now also has the Orchid.
Dyer's
A couple of
top
timing
tower is
windows
under
coming
attack.
into play right now, and I think that if Team Redemption aren't careful, if they really try and force this fight, they could get, I think, pretty much probably a full team wipe, or at least close to it if they're not careful.
Yeah, it depends if they want to commit though. And I think at this point,
Dyer's
tower
top
goes down
tower has
and
fallen.
no one's really making a move. They're going to back out now. So safe plays all around by Team Redemption. Echo though in the mid lane. They didn't even get the... Oh, they didn't even get the puck. And they're going to get the counter kill, it seems, with the creeps. Okay, so it's like Team
What a
Redemption
play!
are... They're on par with their creeps. I think they paid them a little extra. Just to say,
What the heck
hey,
was that? You see the Echo slam on in. What a great play.
The reaction for the puck was wonderful. Absolutely. So they're gonna try and jump onto any of these heroes? No? Just for harassment. Okay.
It also
That
is,
played.
it's worth mentioning in that fight there, as we do see the charge broken off, that the Queen of Pain revealed the Orchid on top of the Ember Spirit and was almost able to get the kill, but he gets away on just under 100 HP as he was just able to remnant out at the last second. Not quite enough damage as they needed to rotate one more hero for that. And that's the other thing, is that if you're charging into the mid lane and trying to coordinate your gank onto Puck, and then you simultaneously are charging in down the bottom lane, like you're sort of spreading out your ganking potential a little bit too much there. That was the reveal of the Blink Dagger and the Orchid. Actually, it might not have been, considering there was this really well-placed ward over here to the side. So, all in all, I think for, MVP, maybe a little bit of a miscommunication, maybe some nerves coming at them. This is an elimination game for them. I would be a little bit scared too.
I think so as well. They're going to try and go for a smoke in the meantime as they've got 3 heroes smoked up, going to be going into the enemy jungle. Now remember, there's no Echo Slam on the Earthshaker, so he's going to have to rely completely on a Fissure initiation, unless he wants to try and go for an Enchant Totem initiation. So they're going to try and look for somebody. They see one, they see two. Who do they want to go for? Who's right under the tusk? But the Winter's Curses, they're going to keep them in place. Queen of Pain in the meantime, just going to slowly hit on the targets. But here comes DDZ. One hero's gone. It's the Earthshaker. Then there's also going to be the ultimate from the puck, keeping 2 in place. And it looks like these 2 are just going to completely melt. Mech or no mech, there was also too much damage regardless. So 3 heroes go down for MVP. What was supposed to be a smoke gank ended up being a smoke ganked, and now he... Okay, I don't know where he came from, but he's going to be wishing he wasn't here. Gonna pop the grave, has a TP. There's no disables. Oh, never mind, there is. He's gone. GG.
Oh, that was questionable. You take a look at a few different moments there, like you decide to go on and gank, as you mentioned, without the Echo Slam, but also without the Sonic Wave. Sonic Wave was down for another 60 seconds when that team fight started. I think they were expecting to just find one hero. And then you also get into a situation where Queen of Pain, like the fight ends up happening, 2 heroes are over here in this side of the map. You've also got, another couple of heroes that are the Queen of Pain down here on the other side. As I take a look about that Orchid down on top of the tusk, and then the Dazzle comes in from behind to try and save somebody, but he's not in range for a grave and just gets caught out by the tusk. It was all in all just a very strange collection of plays, and
Radiant's middle tower
I
is
think
under
that Team
attack.
Redemption at this point are just playing on another level. Like we saw it at the start of the game. If you looked at the CS at the start, it was the first 2 waves were entirely Puck. They do end up getting the silence down on top of him, but he's just going to be able to blink away from that. No damage coming in, and he is able to make it his way out of there. So continuing to commit these spells and abilities and generally time chasing away this very elusive hero, DDZ's been playing it masterfully.
Absolutely. And the game is slowly getting out of MVP's grasp. They had a really good early game. They had a couple of items necessary to go for the push, and would you say 20 minutes right now is their timing window? Because they're not looking that strong anymore because they lost a couple of those team fights.
Yeah. I think that, you know, the Yasha first also on the Ember Spirit is to get the Manta. There's the Yule Scepter on up. So much damage coming out. It does look like they're going to be able to take out the HDAppers, and Winter's Curse at the last second, keeping them alive. They get silence on the Queen of Pain before the Sonic Wave. They end up throwing out the Winter's Curse. She is finally going to be able to throw it, but it is able to be phase shift by the Puck. He's not going down there. Lance is still taking a lot of damage from Aggressive off to the side. That's actually Febby. DDZ is going to be able to make his way out of here, jaunting away like it ain't no thing. Viper ends up taking out the Tusk, so a bit of a turnaround, but still, you lost the Queen of Pain in that engagement, and just look at DDZ tear these heroes apart. There's no way for them to be able to have any type of hit. Oh, bash one time, Ethereal. There's going to be the Sleight of Fist, taking him down, and Puck, again, this hero 6-1 and 9, 20 HP is what he gets away on.
Oh my god, that was just such a horrible turn of events for MVP. I'm surprised they did try to go for that sort of initiation onto Puck though, because they openly charged into that Puck. Got Yules. Was it supposed to be some sort of a bait? Was it supposed to draw Team Redemption into a particular position? It was a very interesting decision to go for an initiation like that. They don't even have wards in the back lines. They've got one here, which is okay, but you need the wards around this vicinity to see where the heroes are, so they went in blind.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
I think maybe you chalk this one up to a bit of a miscommunication on occasion. They're going to jump forward onto... Puck thought that he was charging onto him, but that's not going to be the case. And now Puck might even think about jumping on top of the Spear Breaker in return. This BKB on the Viper, is this one of those sort of that people talk about occasionally, game-losing items, where you're just sort of going to try and lose a little bit more gracefully? Do you think that this is really the way that you want to go on the Viper?
Well, take a look at what a BKB is going to be providing a Viper. What's it do on a Viper? It keeps him alive, which is great. You have a hero that's going to survive a little bit longer, or he's not going to die as quickly. But what does Viper do in the middle of the team fights, right? He pops a mech, and that's about it. He doesn't have the best damage output. Dazzle just gets completely melted by DDZ in the meantime. They will try and go for a counter kill, and I think he's going to get caught out here, unfortunately. Silenced up. They do find a mega kill streak. Not as big as I thought it would have been, but I think still a bit of a win there for MVP. But it doesn't matter if the Viper dies quickly or if he dies not so quickly. He doesn't do anything in these fights. There's just that mech.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And obviously staying alive and being able to soak up damage is going to be pretty important, but they don't have a reason to focus him either. So, like, obviously Nether Toxin is always going to be relevant, but that only kicks in once you start dealing a lot of damage. They need to have, like, the perfect initiation of an Echo Slam into Sonic Wave, and then Viper's damage really starts to be able to come into spades. But until that point, he's not really doing as much as you would hope, and you don't even necessarily have to focus him. So I'm not sure about it. It feels a little bit clunky. They do end up jumping forward. It's going to be able to snowball on top of Febby. That's going to be a fissure back the other direction. So maybe going to try and turn this initiation over, but they have Winter's Curse. They can commit if they want to. Nice little Sonic Wave coming out as well. Still staying alive throughout all of it. Finally, the Spirit Breaker, excuse me, the Tusk does go down. Echo Slam on top of the Winter Wyvern. Getting a little bit sloppy here. Doctor jumping forward. It's going to be this Viper slowly moving his way into there with the Spirit Breaker charging in again. I think that this could be an opportunity for them to turn this back around if they want. And suddenly, MVP.Hot6 starting to look pretty good. Oh, nice little Sleight of Fist, though, keeping them at bay. And the disengage is still happening. And it looks like Team Redemption are going to be able to get out of here, only losing one.
And I think at that point, for them just to lose one is the best scenario that they could have asked for. If you lose one like that, he was in such a bad position, there was no way to salvage it anyway. So Redemption, they let their hero die. They might lose a T2 in the process, though, but DDZ sitting in the tree line. He's ready for an initiation, and as well as the Dream Coil, it's off cooldown. Don't think MVP is going to be ready for his positioning, but they are spreading out, and look at their positioning. They're moving all the way to the west, knowing that there could be a jump in from the side.
Yeah, this is exactly what you need to do. Jumping in for another one, though, and the Dazzle trying to keep his creep alive. They do end up hitting the chains onto two. There's going to be a Dream Coil only onto one, but Earthshaker is the guy who's going to end up going out at the very start of this one, focusing their attention on the Ancient Apparition yet again. He's staying alive through this Winter's Curse, Cold Embrace, everything being able to be connected, but finally we're going to see the Spirit Breaker and the Earthshaker fall. Doctor now getting chased down also. It does look like Queen of Pain dies off to the side there to the Tusk. Nice Ice Shards to finish that one off, and they kill off the Viper as well. Finally, everybody goes down, looking for another one now. They're going to chase after Heen. This is going to be a full team wipe in just a second or two. What's a Dazzle to do? They do have the Yule Scepter if they have to commit it, but wanting to make sure that they don't if they don't need to. There's the lift. That's a lot of damage coming out with those creeps. Silence comes in. There's going to be the Ember Spirit. Raid Boss is here. One more right click, and DDZ, he's just going to be happy as a clam walking away from these dudes.
And MVP, they can just sit there and weep. They can't do anything. They tried to take an objective. They got the tower, which is great. You lose your entire draft for the tower. And that all of a sudden it turns out tower push scenario into more of a team wipe scenario. We kind of lost everything scenario. And if you're watching the Viper in that fight, you saw pop his BKB. He was hitting a couple of heroes. Nice, that's cool. Doing a little bit of damage. But then what else did he do? It really just didn't do anything outside of it. He even he waited to use the mech right before he died. He never used it when his allies were low. So it's been mostly a solo mech this game.
Well, yeah, and I like, we saw there also, he was focusing so heavy on trying to take out that ancient apparition at the start of the fight. He was just right-clicking him away. But if you look at Viper's kit, Nether Toxin physical damage, you've also got obviously a little bit of magical damage coming out from Poison Attack as well as Viper Strike. But if Winter Wyvern's able to get that Cold Embrace level 3, 5% health regen per second, incredibly powerful. And I think that it really goes to show that if you have these heroes that are single target focused, the power of Winter Wyvern in terms of keeping them alive, and even if it wasn't necessarily able to get off all of his spells on that ancient apparition, just soaking up all of that sustained focus by the Viper becomes all the more important, because that's damage that's now not being dealt onto the Ember Spirit, damage that's not being dealt onto the Puck, and they're able to just sort of run ham across the whole rest of the game. So I think that it really is a situation where maybe a bit of not understanding where they need to focus their attention in the team fights. Of course, these players are significantly better than Dota than us, but it's hard in the middle of a team fight to be able to make those distinctions, and very easy to talk about it after the fact when you're just sort of not playing.
Yeah, definitely. But for MVP though, they keep trying to team fight. They're always hoping that, maybe they're hoping that just once they'll win a team fight over Team Redemption. But I think at this point it's just, the timing window is gone. They need to change their plan, but because they've drafted these sort of heroes, they don't have many options left. They don't, split push is a semi option because they have a Queen of Pain, and I guess Spirit Break to a certain extent. They could try and just go for, I don't know, might just have to go for that pseudo roam around, gank that one hero, hopefully they kill enough heroes to take objectives. But for MVP, there's just nothing really left in the tank for them. They're running out of options. They're running out of time. I don't think they have time left, actually.
Queen of Pain just getting silenced, getting played with a little bit here by DDZ. Yeah, I mean, we'll take a look real quickly at the net worth graph. 4,000, that's something that doesn't seem insurmountable, but the thing that you're not seeing in that graph necessarily is the heroes and how well they scale. Winter Wyvern, probably the best scaling defensive support in the game. I would say almost even more so than Dazzle, just because of the ulti and what you're able to do with that spell. Also, I mean, Arctic Burn becomes pretty relevant in the late game because it's, you know, percentage based, the amount of health damage that it does. You take a look at Ember Spirit, probably one of the more hard carries in the game, particularly when there isn't another great one on the side of MVP.Hot6. And Earthshaker, sure, he's going to be able to turn the tide of a team fight, but that mainly comes off the back of bad positioning by your opponents. So if you're not sort of playing incorrectly in Team Redemption's way here, they're in a position to take it. Of course, there have been bigger throws in the history of Dota 2, and I feel a little bit bad talking about that given the teams that are in this one, but regardless, I do think that there's a very real possibility here that Team Redemption just take this to the late game and dominate over MVP.Hot6.
I think they could just take it to the late game right now.
Yeah.
They don't really have to worry too much about MVP. That they can keep counter team fighting. That's fine. They don't have to force the issue because they're not really forced into that sort of position. They're not sitting on a timing window. They've got the later draft, as you said. So Team Redemption, just keep doing what you're doing. Whereas for MVP, they need to find that opening. They need to find that crack in Team Redemption's shield, but I don't see it.
Well,
I really don't.
You just picked up 3 BKBs. You have 3 BKBs now on the side of MVP, and you're about to be able to get the Agnum Scepter up on the Puck, which pierces that. We are going to see an initiation here on top of Lance. That's going to be a whole heck of a lot of damage, but the Cold Embrace and the Glimmer Cape keeping him alive. They're not going to be able to take him down in this one. Viper Strike is on top of this Tusk, but he's still staying alive. The Guardian Greave's going to be there as well, and all of a sudden you commit so much into this fight, and you're not going to be able to get any kills. Winter Wyvern's even going to walk away from this one. Oh god, that is so disheartening.
So all BKBs got blown. They got no kills. They popped their Sonic Wave, which is now going to be on cooldown for another 100 seconds. Could anything else go wrong? Could anything else go wrong?
I mean, they could have gotten team wiped, but still, it's certainly not what you want to have happen. Oh man, what a disheartening team fight. Goodness
It
gracious.
really, absolutely. So for MVP, what do they do now? I don't think they can sit around and continue on farming unless they're hoping that maybe at this point they're saying, hey, maybe we can't team fight them anymore. Maybe we have to try and go into a late game scenario, but they don't have the best heroes for that. They might have to take the risk though, because they can keep on trying to team fight, but it's going to be the exact same story every single time. It's never changed, and it looks like the poor doctor is going to be caught out, going to be completely isolated because of that vision. Unfortunately, they will get the catch on Keen, so there's going to be no grave from our Dazzle. They lose the Earthshaker, and all of a sudden, Queen of Pain's isolated. She gets out in the meantime. Doctor's still going to try and hoof it out of there, but you get caught with the Eels, blocked out, pops the BKB, has to get out. It's Dream Core's on cooldown, never mind. Doctor gonna try and man fight this, doing a lot of damage actually to the Tusk. He's actually surviving quite a bit, gonna try and man fight this a little bit more, but here comes the damage. And Doctor gonna be sent back to the hospital where he came from. As Team Redemption, they lose nobody, and MVP again, they get caught out and chopped up into little sushi pieces.
Oh, it's so frustrating. Like, you saw there also the bait by the Winter Wyvern. It was waiting for the Tusk to get lower and lower, and then all of a sudden you drop on down the Cold Embrace and the Glimmer Cape, and suddenly you have 60, or what is that, 45% Glimmer magic resistance on top of the complete and total immunity from physical damage. You're not taking any damage, and you're healing on the back of it, percentage-based healing. So, Echo Slam, maybe of dreams. Is it going to be able to be enough, though? The Snowball is saved on top of the Cold Embrace. Sonic Wave is not going to be able to kill him off. They are going to jump now on top of the Winter Wyvern, who looks to maybe finally go down in the end. That is going to be a bit of a turnaround. Is not going to have a Winter's Curse out, and they do get one kill, but is it enough? It doesn't quite look like it. They're jumping forward now on top of the Tusk, but the Snowball forward away from them. He's going to go onto the Spirit Breaker. Lance is in the middle of everybody. They end up taking out the Earthshaker, and Cold Embrace or not, it looking like they're going to be in a very, very strong position. The Shallow Grave was out to try and keep that Queen of Pain alive, but one Sleight of Fist from the Ember was going to be enough to get that kill, and they take the Tier 2 tower as well as 2 kills of their own.
Very surprised that Team Redemption doesn't consider pushing down through that mid lane, because the fight happened in this vicinity. So if you're that close to the enemy base, then you'd probably consider trying to go for a push, but they just backed off. Very passive play for Team Redemption. If there's no action, they just go back to their lanes.
Well, and it doesn't feel to me like they're necessarily having trouble closing it out. They're just being very careful. Like, they're being super careful about their initiations, not wanting to give a potential for them to, lose this game. They've got the Aghanim Scepter up on the Ancient Apparition. We've said it multiple times. There's no rush for him. So I'm completely and totally happy with this play to make sure that they're fighting every single engagement correctly. And it almost feels like the one thing that they could probably get pretty soon would be some form of minus armor to be able to take Roche, because that's the downside to Team Redemption's lineup right here, is that they don't have the best Roche taking lineup. They don't have somebody who's going to be that big, massive damage dealer. Tusk ended up going for a more survivability build here. He's got the Blink Dagger and the Guardian Greaves to be able to purge away stuff, as well as jump on in with the Snowball. For the Ember Spirit, he is now going for the crit, but it's still a little ways away, and they don't really have any minus armor to be able to sort of take Roshan any easier.
They could just pick up a medallion if they wanted that cheap, cost-efficient armor reduction, because the only other hero I could really see picking up the Deso. Okay, so there we go. Cheap medallion, and then we're going to be expecting a Roche very shortly. But I think at this point, maybe they're looking for maybe a hero kill before they move into the Roche pit to make it 100% safe. Although then again, MVP's Roche, team fight Roche ability is not that strong. Not too much AoE, not too much control. So I think Team Redemption, they can just go in there and feel relatively safe as long as they have that Wyvern outside of the pit.
Yeah, definitely. And the counter initiation is strong for Team Redemption also. It looks like, at least for the moment, they're going to go on down and try and take the top tier 2 tower instead, and then afterwards transition themselves on into picking Roshan, because I think that that's probably a bit of the safer play as well. You mentioned that they don't have the best team fight lineup, but you imagine an Echo Slam on top of, a Sonic Wave. It can get pretty scary pretty quickly, and they're just going to be doing the safe thing. Do toss on out a couple of spells in the area to make sure that they take away the vision over there in case somebody is hiding in the jungle. And with the DD up on the Ember Spirit, I don't see them coming to try and contest this anytime soon. About 350 damage a pop on top of the crits that can come out at any given point in time. And yeah, they're just going to sack this tower, and maybe now at this point you feel comfortable going for Roche? Or high grounds?
Depends. They're hanging around. I think they're going to back up now. Are they backing up? Yes, they are. So here we go. Backing up. Going to TP back slowly. We'll see if Redemption feels like doing Roche. Because it just feels like at this point it's just them kind of deciding when they feel like they want to do things.
Yeah, definitely. There's no rush. There's no playing much more by feel, as you mentioned there. And Battle Fury up on the Ember Spirit. I don't think there's a game where he has to go for a second Battle Fury. I think that probably. I don't know if Lincoln's is necessary either. It doesn't feel like he needs more survivability items because there aren't great ways to catch him. Like, if he wanted to never die again, then I think that probably Lincoln's is the way to go. But I also feel like he could go for more damage if he wanted to and just ensure that scalability. So maybe a second Daedalus at some point in time, or I don't even know if we're going to get to that point, honestly. It's looking like this could be over in 15 minutes unless you see some type of miraculous comeback by MVP.Hot6, which, I mean, I would love to be able to see us go to a Game 3 here.
I would as well, but it depends if they're going to be able to execute that correctly.
Right.
So, Aegis going to be going in the Ember Spirit, of course, if he's able to go a little bit more balls deep with this high ground push and be a little bit more aggressive in his positioning. We have the rest of MVP, though, moving up together up towards the north. Going into the enemy jungle, no one's in there, but I think if they do find a hero in the jungle, it would be more or less a bonus, but it's barren. No one's here. No one wants to farm. Everyone wants to make something happen.
Yeah, Refresher now picked up on Puck. This is an item that we often see. I think that normally you end up seeing instead the Hex, but given how many BKBs are on the side of MVP.Hot6, and given also the sort of ability to get the Sleight of Fists down on top of almost the whole area of wherever you end up throwing out that Dream Coil, this seems very strong to me. And you take a look at the Dream Coil duration. So the duration on it is 8 seconds when you end up getting the Scepter, and it's a 4.5 second stun that goes through BKB. This is ridiculous. It's an incredible disable. And maybe now, actually, I think that probably going for a second Daedalus might be the way to go, just based off of how much sort of damage the Ember Spirit is going to be able to do in those small areas with the Dream Coil down.
Yeah, I don't see why not. He can go for the second Daedalus, or if he really wants to, he also has the option of maybe going for a Skadi, which means that any targets that he hit, obviously they're going to be slowed up, and that means that the MVP, if they fight and they get hit by Lance, they have to commit. They're not going to be able to retreat.
Yeah, definitely. And trade in towers at this point in time seems good for MVP.Hot6, and charging on over into the mid lane is just going to be able to push out these a little bit further, so perfectly fine there. But now maybe in a little bit of trouble. We'll see if they end up catching out this Queen of Pain here. Don't want to end up blowing a Dream Coil on it, but the silence looks to be able to be enough, as he just has end up ethereal jaunting back, because why not? You can just play with him at this point. Like, to me, that's just like, I don't care what you're going to do to me, I'm just going to be up in your face and messing with you.
So we're going to have a gem picked up actually on the Earthshaker, so they will have the true sight to work with, but they're stuck in their base. It's not really going to be too useful, but they will be hanging around on the high ground, whereas for Team Redemption, would they just slow siege this, or do they have to try and go for a quick push? Because they're still running on an Aegis timing, so they've only got a small portion of time to work with.
Yeah, I think that it wouldn't be terrible for them to go for a pretty quick one, and it looks like they're actually going to be doing that. Setting the Puck up, the Illusory Orb is off cooldown another couple of seconds, and seeing nobody here, it might feel comfortable just pushing on up into the middle of all of this. Obviously, you do have the possibility to jump forward and deal a lot of damage with an Echo Slam if you're not careful. Nice Sleight of Fist, creating that little bit of extra damage on top of these heroes, bringing them slightly lower, and a Cold Embrace up is going to mean that they're going to be able to jump in again with a second round. There's actually going to be the initiation. DDZ could be in a little bit of trouble. There's the Dream Coil on top of him. Blast is coming in, is going to apply the debuff onto Doctor. Winter's Curse committed as well, but so much damage. I don't think the Doctor has enough. Echo Slam onto 3. This might be the initiation that they need. They end up taking out 2 of them. The Aegis has burned through also a second Dream Coil now, but Ember Spirit is back in the middle of all of them. And just look at the crits come in. He's moving around every which way. That is going to break the stun. Oh, aggressive. The Febby, he's going to get out of there. Now the reinitiation by the Spirit Breaker. He's on top of DDZ. We do have another phase shift, which is going to keep him alive a little bit longer. Refresher has already been committed. And that was a pretty great team fight for MVP.Hot6.
That was probably the best team fight that they could have asked for, and that was off the back of a very nice Echo Slam. The Fissure keeping them in place once they clumped up around the Dazzle, and then after that, it was just MVP raining hell on the Team Redemption. Unfortunately, it wasn't on the major cores. They got rid of the Aegis, which was nice, but you're not killing off these heroes. And Lance has just bought Boot to Travel, so he'll be throwing away his power treads shortly, I presume, but that's the high ground push for Team Redemption cut short because of that team fight. And I suppose high ground is still a factor for MVP, even though they're not running a draft that has too much damage. they still have that oomph, because Team Redemption, you look at their heroes, they're not in particular that tanky.
Yeah. No, it's definitely true. And I mean, that was what we were talking about there, that they needed to be careful about the sort of all-out burst damage that comes from the side of MVP.Hot6. And I think maybe after playing it so carefully for a little while, they just got a little bit over ambitious. I think the puck being up there was in a bit of trouble. But and the fact that he had to sort of blow the original Dream Coil early, definitely not what you wanted to have happen. So all in all, probably not the best, but I don't think that this means by any stretch of the imagination that they're going to be able to be out of this game at all. BKB has been popped now. Walrus Punch committed. That's going to break through it. And all of a sudden, your Spirit Breaker ends up going down, and now looking to try and force the issue a little bit further.
And I don't see why not. Just kill these heroes. If there are heroes down, then just go for the push, or at least just make something happen. Take objectives, push the game forward. And for Redemption, they're not in a rush, so if they get hero kills, it's literally a bonus to go for push. That's really all it is.
I really would have rather seen right there the Ember Spirit go back to try and defend, because then he could have remnanted back. But now we have the reinitiation. Earthshaker is here. He's going to get caught out a little bit. They end up sheep-sicking him up one time. We do have the Cold Embrace as well, the Glimmer Cape, keeping him alive. A Blast going to connect onto 2. Sonic Wave now committed, but he's still alive throughout all of it. Oh, there's the Echo Slam, a second one to be able to be a pretty solid pickoff, but in the middle of all of it, you're a wicked 6 streak on the Ember Spirit, still alive throughout all of this. Heen is going to get Yule Sceptered on up. I think he dies in a second or two. Still here is going to be doing a lot of damage onto the AA, and it looks like finally the Viper might be able to do enough to start really scaling well into this game. DDZ is still alive, as is Lance, but I don't know if they have enough control at this point to continue this push. Another pickoff here, and a solid team fight by MVP.Hot6 defending their high ground.
And then we actually have the Spirit Breaker coming in. He actually connects. Oh, what is? You see his model just bugged out into the ground? What in the world?
That was weird.
Do you see it?
I see Spirit Breaker actually doing, like, I don't know what he is doing. He's actually over here by the creep wave, but it looks all kinds of weird. He's like digging for dirt or something. I don't know what's going on. But regardless, hopefully it stays like that throughout the whole rest of this cast. That's what happens when you end up getting an Ember Spirit chainsing you while you're charging on in. His forehead is just plastered into the ground.
He's just face palming. Considering what's happened, unfortunately. Peter Payne, though,
just
doesn't
able to
get
get
caught.
out. Yeah, the blink away, and then she was able to just TP. I think that the Dream Coil came a second too late, and it wasn't able to catch her, but still do have the refresher on up. But MVP.Hot6, despite the fact that we were ruling them out of this game in the late stages, they're putting on a pretty good show, and it feels like the execution has been there. In terms of what they've needed to do in these team fights. They haven't been able to burst on down the Viper, and he's really starting to get more tanky. I just think that maybe Team Redemption need to play this a little bit differently at this point, possibly doing some split pushing. What are your thoughts?
They can go for the split push. I think it's just the main issue for them is that because they've been pushing high ground, it's been a massive advantage for MVP, because high ground is obviously going to be an advantage to the defending team. So for MVP, it's just a saving grace that the fact that for them having high ground, meaning that the Echo Slam is going to come out a little bit nicer for them, and also for Team Redemption, they're going into enemy territory, and also buybacks are a factor. So obviously, if there's a buyback, the hero's going to come back into the fight almost instantly. So you also have to take into consideration of that. It's just high ground defense. If the fight is in the middle of the map, if it's on the side of Team Redemption, then it completely tips on its head, and then Team Redemption are going to be the ones in a very good position. So it's just mostly been the high ground that's been a problem here for them. If they can break high ground, then I think Redemption have got this game.
Oh, this is actually a huge play right now. They ended up bringing the puck in smoked up, and he's going to be behind the Tier 3 tower as we see everybody move on in from Team Redemption to be in this area. MVP.Hot6 trying to defend it as long as possible. Nice blink on back. Ember Spirit keeping them alive a little bit longer. The offensive weave is going to keep them a little bit longer afraid of moving forward. And there's the Ember Spirit going to be clearing out the top creep wave, or bottom creep wave ladder. Actually, everybody's in the middle of them. There's going to be a huge Dream Coil going to be connecting onto 4, I do believe. Dr. Drop and really low. Nice grave keeping him alive. Snowball forward. Sonic Wave is going to be connected, but only onto Lance. Double kill for him. 2 heroes are dead. Buybacks immediately across the board, but that goes slam. It is absolutely enormous. I think that might have been enough to at least dissuade Team Redemption from moving any further forward. They are going to be able to jump forward now on the Queen of Pain. Can they find this kill? Walrus punch forward, and it looks like they might have overcommitted at this point. Oh, Puck making his presence felt, and I think Doctor could go down as well. If they're able to get that shards up, that's pretty good. Buyback on the Ember Spirit. They smell blood. They want to go for the finish. He's TP bootsing in. They need to kill off that creep, but not going to be able to make it happen. So much catch on the side of Team Redemption here as they end up getting the shards one more time. Doctor dropping low. Is he going to be able to get out? Nice Glimmer Cape keeping him alive, but still no towers are down, and they need to make this down very quickly before anybody else comes up. Huge win though for Team Redemption.
80-second cooldown on the Queen of Pain though, so I think at this point they're safe to take that top set of racks. It's fine. They've taken one set of objectives. The risk comes if they try and take either a mid or a bottom set of Raxes, but they're going to continue on just taking these Raxes. What's the decision? They're going to come in with the Earthshaker. That's quite questionable. I think Aggressive going to lose his life. He's got buyback available. He will pop it though, and the team fight's going to come back through as they want to try and defend. Can they actually keep these Raxes alive? They're very low. The illusions are still chewing into them. And MVP, their attention, it's split. They're trying to focus heroes down, but they can't quite kill them off. They will get one kill at least on the Ancient Apparition, but one Rax is down. Second one will go down shortly. Spirit Breaker's gone down. He's got no buyback. Both Raxes are gone. Objective has been taken. Mission successful, and Team Redemption are gone.
Oh, really well played there across the board. You did also see in the middle of that team fight, Viper was trying to take on out the Ancient Apparition, but the Glimmer Capes were going off all over the place. They were able to keep him alive. He threw out the AA Blast, and that was going to be enough to make sure that the kill ended up coming out. So really well played across the board. Buyback status is really going to be hurting at this point for the Radiant. Only the Dazzle has it, and he is not in a position to really have any type of impact in these team fights beyond a shallow grave. And now with Roshan back up, they're going to be comfortable to take this. What position or what ability for MVP.Hot6 do you have to defend this? I actually realize this is going on. This could be big with the Echo Slam. There's a possibility here.
And I don't think Team Redemption will be expecting this. Is there a smoke? They need a smoke because there's a high ground wall. They know this is here. They will get the water. He spots him out. Everyone. They're just. Are they going to keep on going for the Roche? It's risky.
Oh.
But they're not clumped up. Oh.
That could have been huge. That would have been the moment, and unfortunately the Earthshaker ends up showing it off. Dreamcoil now committed. They're going to start to tear him up. We got the Illusory Orb coming on in. Heen is in the middle of them. Sonic Wave comes out. There's going to be the AA Blast. It does apply the debuff onto 3 of them, and now needing to run away from this one. There's the Snowball in the blink away. Heen's still dropping low. He's going to end up going down. Ethereal Jaunt could come in a second. Actually is able to juke on out the Queen of Pain there, but might end up being able to get lifted up in the Yule Scepter. That is going to be the Tusk finally falling off to the side. The Puck and the Queen of Pain battle is going to come out victorious for the Puck as he ends up just being able to waste her time, jumps into the middle of the team fight. Spirit Breaker goes down. Doctor's here also, and so much time was wasted there. The Queen of Pain, she wasn't able to get out the damage that she needed.
Oh god, this game is an absolute disaster for MVP. Did they have a smoke? Did they have a smoke?
I'm not sure if they did. They did end up smoking up after the fact, and GG ends up getting called. It felt to me like there was an option there.
If they smoked in, I think that would have been the opportunity, but because they didn't smoke in and he revealed himself to kill off a ward, that blew their cover. Oh my gosh. What a game.
Yep, well, we do end up seeing Team Redemption take it in a 2-0 series. Very convincing, both games. I felt like their draft, their execution was really solid. Danny, any other thoughts before we end up moving on?
I'm incredibly impressed with Team Redemption's comeback. They've played superbly. They have drafted phenomenal drafts. They've made everything work. They know the synergy is there. You watch this team and they know what they're doing. You can see their movements. They have decisive team play. It is amazing. I'm actually hoping to see more Team Redemption. I really am.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys again for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure casting for you all. We hope you stick around for our second series of the day, which is going to be taking place, I believe, in just an hour or so, if I'm not mistaken. But once again, at Lyrical Dota, at Danny Lee Cass, as well as Corrupt Drop Bear on the stats. I think his Dota 2 crashed in the middle of that one, so that's why we're... Oh, wait, no, he's back. Never mind. I'm sorry. I saw that thing in a second ago. What do I know, though? We'll be back in just a second or two. Stick around.